The show must go on. These are the words that have stuck with me through my entire life. These are the words that so many of us on Broadway stand by, live by, and breathe every single day. The show must go on. These are the words that came to me on March 14, 2020, when New York City shut down and the heartbeat of New York City, Broadway, was told to close its doors. The show must go on. But what does that really mean? Hi, I'm Bruce Barrish, fourth generation owner of Ernest Windsor Cleaners, the dry cleaner who has been caring for Broadway's costumes since 1908. Yes, I said 1908. And trust me when I say, we have seen it all. From every show, to every costume, to every wardrobe supervisor, and more. Ernest Windsor Cleaners has been a huge part of the Broadway community. But let's start at the beginning, 1908. Ernest Windsor opened his dry cleaning business on Cedar Avenue in the Bronx, with his primary clientele being the Broadway theaters. My grandfather, Al Steinhorn, was on a different path, owning laundries. But as the world entered the 1950s, more families were starting to own home washers. As Ernest Windsor's career was winding down, my grandfather Al was faced with the dilemma of what to do to successfully continue his career. In 1952, they were brought together, and Al struck a deal with Mr. Windsor in order to take over and continue the legacy of Broadway's dry cleaner. Ernest Windsor introduced Al to Walter Steele, who was working at Windsor as top man and understood the complexity of the theatrical cleaning business and the mechanics behind the plant. In 1958, Al's daughter, my mother, Shari Steinhorn, met Miles Barrish. As they moved towards marriage, Al hired Miles and took him under his wing to show him the ins and outs of the business. Al was forced into retirement in 1972 due to the difficulty of losing his eyesight. So naturally, Miles took over the family business, along with Walter. Miles and Walter remained business partners until 1979, when Miles took full ownership of the company. I come into the picture in the early 1970s as a young kid who joined his father every Saturday at work because I wanted to be around my dad, who, along with my grandfather, were my childhood idols. Even more so, I came because being at Ernest Windsor Cleaners and seeing all the costumes as well as their history was, and still is, beyond exciting to me. This work became my passion at an early age. Some may say I was born to clean. I went on to graduate from Pace University in January of '86 and met the love of my life, Sarah Abramowitz, at the end of 1989. We get married in November of '91, and Sarah has been my life partner ever since. My father retired at the start of the millennium. Sarah then joined me as my business partner in 2005, and she and I have become the voices of Windsor. As I shared earlier, Ernest Windsor Cleaners has seen it all over the past 112 years. How can you not when your business has been open since 1908? Here is a list of just some of the recent crazy tasks that we've had to deal with in order to ensure that the show goes on. On Tuesday, September 11, 2001, the country was shaken by the attacks, especially New York City. This moment was the first time we had all the costumes cleaned and ready to return to the stages, but we could not because New York City and Broadway were shut down completely. I was on the van making deliveries in Brooklyn that morning when the planes hit. And the feel of the city throughout that day and in the weeks that followed stays with me still. In December of 2011, a Sunday night blizzard arrives and shuts down the entire city. I decided to stay at Windsor while my drivers finished their pickups from Broadway at 11:15 Sunday night. The city was so treacherous with snow-covered roads that it took my drivers until 4:30 a.m. to get back to the Bronx with the costumes. Through snow, sleet, and rain, the clean costumes were returned to the theaters on time for their performances the next day. In 2012, we faced yet another challenge with Hurricane Sandy. All costumes were picked up and returned to Broadway on time. We ended up receiving multiple orders of water-damaged costumes. One order we received contained thousands of soaking wet costumes for multiple touring shows. The most memorable show, though, was a little off-Broadway show called My Big Gay Italian Wedding, which was supposed to open on stage on Friday. Costumes were restored and delivered on Thursday, and the show went on as scheduled. Super Bowl 47, February of 2014, shut down Times Square completely. Despite the fact that the game was played in New Jersey, everything is legal in New Jersey. Times Square was shut down for an entire 10 days. We had to coordinate through Schubert Security along with NYPD in order to get my drivers access to every theater so that we could pick up and deliver the costumes. We have picked up and delivered through every protest, parade, gathering, and more that this amazing city throws at us. My drivers have waited for hours to make pickup on nights of protesting. On several occasions, they have called me at midnight and said, "Boss, you're going to have to figure this one out." And of course, we figure it out. A few years back, we reached new heights when we were called into Radio City to clean the drapes in the Grand Entry Hall. If you don't know what I'm talking about, these drapes are 3 stories high. I remember walking into the hall and seeing plenty of regular-sized drapes, but we weren't there for those. I actually recall thinking, why does everyone call on us to figure out the impossible? Well, we did figure it out, and we ended up partnering up with a stage rigging company to assemble scaffolding similar to those used by outdoor window washers. When Radio City was designed, it was built with a track with 2 hooks in the ceiling. After some safety testing, we used the tracks to go up and down and around the Grand Entry Hall. Some of our staff even rose to the occasion and actually sewed vertically the drapes in place in order to make sure that the show could go on. No matter the size of the show or the size of the task at hand, we're there to lend a helping hand to Broadway. One time we were asked to put a celebrity into a large covered laundry basket and roll it out of the theater so that they can get past the crowd. We are also lucky and proud to have been part of some of the biggest moments on Broadway. In 2018, the Broadway League recognized us for our resilience and commitment to the idea that the show must go on. In one of our proudest moments yet, we were honored with a special Tony Award, calling us out for 110 years of dedicated service to the Broadway community. I believe we were honored with this Tony Award because of 2 basic principles that I strongly believe in. First, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And second, you should always strive to be the best. To me, these 2 lessons tell me that if ever I begin to believe that I am the best and stop continually striving to be better, then I will never reach the top of my game. In other words, my show must always go on. Today, Ernest Windsor Cleaners operates a 15,000 square foot facility, still located on the same street in the Bronx, utilizing generations of knowledge along with the latest cleaning technologies. We have even helped develop our own cleaning machine together with the factory in Italy to help accommodate all the large elaborate costumes that we clean. When the world shut down at the start of 2020, Broadway was forced to go dark. I was called upon to do many interviews, and each time was asked the same question: what to compare this to? From the very first week of the shutdown, my answer has been the same. There is nothing to compare this to. While I am a dry cleaner and the owner of Ernest Windsor Cleaners, I also wear multiple hats, one of which is my current role as the president of the National Cleaners Association. In order to figure out how to help when the pandemic began, I reached out to my friends in the dry cleaning and Broadway industries. Ultimately, we teamed up with Broadway to start a project that we call the Show Must Go On. Collaborating with the Broadway Relief Project, Open Jar Studios, and the Broadway Green Alliance, we help facilitate the production of masks and gowns to supply essential workers who were in dire need at the start of the pandemic. Today, we are working along with the Costume Industry Coalition as well as Save Our Stages as they work to save the entertainment industry and all of those associated with it. At this point in time, we are over 7 months into the Broadway shutdown, and it looks like we will be losing over a year. Broadway is the heartbeat of New York City and brings to it billions of dollars and millions of people from across the world. But not only that, Broadway and Ernest Windsor Cleaners are and will continue to be a part of the city's history. Soon enough, Broadway will come back and will be strong because the show must go on. I am here to tell you the show will go on.